Hey guys, Vaughn Joseph here. Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in today, you guys. We have an amazing show lined up for you today. Very excited for you guys to have the opportunity to check out this gentleman that I've got sat across from me, Mr. Allegedly Dave, author, investigator, researcher. This guy's got all kinds of amazing information for us today. So, as you know, I have to admit, I love a really good conspiracy theory. Moon landings, 9/11. I'm a huge advocate of questioning just about everything. So, never take someone else's word for anything. As you know, I always say, don't even always take my word for it. Do your own research, you guys. That's what it's all about. So, we do acknowledge there's always likely going to be some hoaxes, and there's going to be lies, and there's always going to be cover-ups and things like that are taking place out there in the real world. So we are going to go in on this subject that I found. I was doing some research on a different show, and you know how sometimes YouTube will redirect you and says videos that you might like to see? Bam, this video showed up called Flat Earth, and I was intrigued. So I had to click over and I started checking out this video, and you know, all these other videos popped up, and then, you know, next thing you know, bam, I've got all these kind of questions. And then that's where our guest today shows up in the feed, and I see him, and there he is, and I'm like, hey, who's this Dave guy? I want to know all about him. So welcome to the show, sir. Thank you for taking the time out of your extremely busy schedule to come see us. You just got back from Texas, right? Mm-hmm. How was that?
Oh, it was brilliant, thanks.
Yeah?
Doing a few talks out there.
Yeah? So how did you get started in this whole concept of the Earth is flat?
Well, pretty much the same way as you did.
Yeah.
I was researching something completely different and saw something intriguing in that little bit on the side,
right,
as you said. And I was watching a video about some esoteric experiments and wasn't really paying attention. I was doing like three things at once, really. This was going on in the background. And then he said something about the Bedford Levels experiment,
right,
which is an experiment that was done in a canal, which is perfectly straight for 6 miles. Mm. And apparently, he says that the curvature along that stretch of 6 miles should be 16 feet, a 16-foot drop,
right,
at the other end. And I was thinking, wow, that's a short distance for that amount of drop. You know, surely the Earth can't be that small. You know, so I was about to dismiss it when I thought, well, I'll check. You know, I've never really checked whether, you know, that's the curvature.
Right.
I started looking into it, and I found that the curvature is 8 inches per mile squared. I'd never even thought of it before. Okay. And then I was intrigued. I was thinking, well, I've seen things way further than 6 miles, and I've seen the whole thing.
Right.
So that got me, you know, hooked, basically. I started looking, you know, I was on a beach one day, I was looking across at a lighthouse which was 8 miles away, and I could see the bottom of the lighthouse. And yeah, I started looking at videos, and at the time there were only about maybe 100 videos out there. This was 2014, I think, middle to end of 2014. I might be wrong. And so, you know, 40 odd videos, I'd watched them all, maybe twice. But literally a year later, there was 6 million videos on Flat Earth. So it wasn't just me finding this. It seemed to be not a movement, I hate that word, but, you know, some kind of shift of consciousness that happened, you know, 2015, basically. It just exploded.
Yeah. So what sort of research have you done yourself? Have you gone out there with like a proper, like, you know, measuring and leveling devices to see distances and curvatures and things like that, or?
Well, I used to be a CAD draftsman. Mm-hmm. So one of the first things I did was draw the whole thing up in AutoCAD.
Right.
And sure enough, it matched this 6 inches per mile, only for the like a quarter of the circumference of the Earth, but that's enough, really. But yes, it matched that exactly. But you know, since I've gone out and done experiments, we did there's a whole group of us who went out back to the Bedford Levels and kind of recreated the iconic experiment.
Right.
with sort of mixed success, but because the weather didn't cooperate very well. And I've been to Lake Balaton in Hungary, where we did a laser experiment. Got a high-power laser with a very expensive collimator to keep the beam nice and tight. Shot the beam across the lake about, I think it's about 12 kilometers, 10 to 12 kilometers. And we went out in a speedboat chasing the beam to measure how much it would drop.
Right.
Got some very incredible results, actually. We found that the laser beam actually bent upwards.
So wouldn't that be in, like, maybe relation to the levels of the, like, because I was reading somewhere where they were talking about maybe the Nile and how it's somehow flowing uphill or something like that, or that's the levels. Wouldn't that have anything to do with maybe the Earth just being at a different level, like, you know, the ground itself being at a higher level when you're traveling that far down?
Well, you know, I don't really subscribe to this idea that the Nile flows uphill and that, because if you really go into their model, the globe model, you know, supposedly gravity is pulling in to the center at all places, so it wouldn't really be flowing uphill if that model was real. But obviously that model isn't real. We've never ever seen curved water anywhere. When water freezes, there's a huge lake called Lake Baikal in Siberia. It's about 196 miles long, and every winter it freezes over, and it freezes over into a perfect mirror. Now, if you've ever had a mirror which was slightly imperfect,
distortion, right?
You'd get a distorted view of the reflection, be distorted. But this Lake Baikal, again, it's a perfect mirror. Same with Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia. It's a salt flat, which is something like 100 miles long and 80 miles across. Right. And when it rains there, you get an inch of water across the whole plain. And literally it turns into a mirror where, you know, you see people walking and it looks like they're floating in the clouds. Right. So it's a perfect mirror. You can't get that on a curved surface.
Well, where did this mathematical equation come from? Who? Maybe it's wrong.
It's just basic spherical trigonometry. It's an easy way to calculate the curvature, 8 inches per mile squared. That's basically it. If you draw a circle, and you do it to scale, you know, somehow, like I did on AutoCAD. That's what you'll measure if you measure it off. The size that the Earth has been chosen to be, when you apply the 8 inches per mile to it, I think over 1 mile it drops by 0.666 inches. Right. Yeah. It's kind of like a little signature.
Well, we're not going to get into this yet because I know you've got something extra special for us and a bit later in the show. So, but I have really done a lot of research on a lot of that about secrets in plain sight.
You know that's a signature.
Yeah.
Just then you think about the tilt of the Earth that we've been told. Right. Yeah? 23.4 degrees. Right. Yeah. It's not 23.5. Right. But if you look, that's 23.4 away from the vertical. If you measure from the horizontal, it's 66.6. Right. We're supposed to be spinning around the sun, they say 67,000 miles an hour. Right. But if you actually look for it, they say it's 18.5 meters per second or something. But you calculate what that is in miles an hour, it's 66.6 thousand, 66,600 miles an hour.
You mentioned gravity earlier about when we were talking about the water. What holds us all in place then? If it's not gravity, what is it that's keeping things grounded versus other things
Why are you asking me? I don't know.
Not so much.
No, you know what? They don't even know. They don't know what gravity is. I can tell you, they can give you their calculations and stuff.
Right.
But it's a tendency for things that go up to come down.
Right.
Everything else is density and buoyancy. Yeah. The one thing that tells me that, this is not really related to gravity, but one thing that tells me that, without a doubt, that we're on a flat plane is the gyroscope. Yeah, when you spin a gyroscope, if you've ever done that, you spin it, it actually stays upright. While it's spinning,
right,
it will stay upright. It does not want to move from that orientation.
Right.
Even if you spin it at 45 degrees, it will stay at 45 degrees. And if you try and shift the base that it's on, it will just stay at 45 degrees. Yeah. Now, an aircraft has an artificial horizon, and it's based on gyroscope. So before they take off, they calibrate the artificial horizon. They just spin it up so that it's level, and then they take off. So if they take off with a gyroscope calibrated, and they start going over the curve of the Earth,
right,
the gyroscope will stay upright. So the artificial horizon will start to roll backwards.
Right.
But it doesn't. It just stays nice and flat and level. That right there is proof that the planes fly over a plane. I asked the pilots of one of the flights I was on, asked them lots of questions so they didn't get suspicious, but I asked them, do you ever see the artificial horizon roll backwards, or do you have to make corrections to it? They said no, because it has complex electronics in it and GPS, so it knows where on Earth it is, and it compensates for it. But you go to a manufacturer and they'll show you designs of it, and it's purely mechanical. There's nothing electronic. There's no GPS in it. It's literally a gyroscope that's allowed to freely move on gimbals.
Right.
That's it.
Right. So I just got back from Spain a couple days ago, and I'm reading about the Earth being flat. I equate it to us being on an album, I guess. And you have your sun and your moon, all right? So how come the sun comes up at different spots then throughout the season? If it's fixed, as it supposedly is, and we're fixed, why am I seeing it come over the mountain in January, but then come summertime it's coming up over the sea, over the Med? Right.
Well, it's not, the sun isn't sort of spinning round in a fixed track over the equator. It's literally going from one tropic and then spiraling inwards to the other tropic and then spiraling outwards again. So that is what causes the seasons, and also that's why it seems to rise at different places, throughout the year.
So it's kind of spiral graphing through the...
Yeah, it's basically going in and out, and literally when it's out in the outermost tropic, I can never remember which one's which, but when it's in the outer tropic, it's winter in the northern hemisphere. When it's in the inner tropic, it's summer in the northern hemisphere.
So now I know we said this was going to be topical, but I'm kind of just curious about this. What drives the rotation of all this then? So what makes all this stuff move? What drives that rotation then?
Again, you're asking me.
No, you don't know. I figured maybe your research you might know. So
again, this is where the model that we've been taught breaks down.
Right.
Yeah. When we're taught this as children. Okay. Yeah. It's just drummed into us as children.
Right.
And as a child, information comes in. We accept it as true. Why would anybody lie to us?
Right.
Accept it as true, and it's there. It's base truth. Yeah. You never go back to it because, why question the basis of your reality?
Sure, of course not.
But when you do go back and look at it, it never makes sense. I mean, what drives the Earth spinning You know, why does the Earth continue to spin at this constant rate? Especially when every time there's a major earthquake, they say, "Oh yeah, that earthquake slowed down the Earth's rotation by this tiny amount." Well, if it slows down the rotation, then that means the Earth will start to slow down, because it's like any frictionless system. If you slow it down a bit, it's now started a deceleration.
Well, won't it just pick itself back up then, and maybe continue back to where it was?
Then what would cause it to pick back up again?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Because the idea is that something started it spinning,
right,
and it's in a frictionless environment, and so it's going to continue to spin. But then when you add in all these things that they keep saying, "Oh, let's slow down the Earth just by this 0.00 whatever," well, you add them up, we should be spinning backwards by now. You know, it's ridiculous. Yeah, there's no explanation. I don't have an explanation what drives the sun round.
Right.
But something that's interesting we found is something called quantum locking. You might have seen this on YouTube, where they have a ring of magnets on a tabletop, and they have this material, superconducting material, and they've got some, I guess, dry ice on top of it to keep it cool. And literally it's like a disc, and they can like tilt it at a certain angle or something, or orient it any way they want, and it will lock itself, and they can push it, and it will just spin round at, let's say, 45 degrees.
Right.
And also they can put it underneath the magnets and lock it in place in a certain orientation, push it round, and it will just continue to spin round. So we think something like that is going on up there, but you know, we don't know how it works.
Right.
You know, we're not meant to know how it works.
Right. So it's just us. Then we're here, and it's the sun's doing what it's doing. What do you think about other planets then? So are these other planets, are they just not there? Are there other planets out there? And if not, what are we seeing when we look through the telescope and see the rings of Saturn? What am I looking at then?
Well, no, there aren't any other planets out there. This is the only place there is. Yeah, this is the only place that you can stand on and live. Yeah. The planets, well, the word planet is actually Greek, and it means wandering star. Yeah. With the flat Earth camera of choice, the Nikon P900.
Are you plugging?
No, well, you know what? We should earn something from Nikon. Yes,
sponsor that, right? Sponsor.
Because they've sold out of these cameras because the flat earthers are buying them up like crazy.
Right.
But with that camera, you can zoom in on a star, and you will see detail. Every single star is unique.
Right.
Yeah. Some look like watery fire. Some look like wheels within wheels.
Right.
Some look like wheels with spokes. Some look like spiky energy bursts. They're all unique, every single one of them. And again, the Bible is very clear that saying that they're celestial living beings.
Right.
And they certainly look like it because they look like amoeba or something that's alive. The planets are simply wandering versions of those. You know, it's the stars stay in their fixed patterns, but there are certain stars that actually kind of orbit the sun, and they do something different from all the others.
Right.
So we call them the planets, and funnily enough, the planets' names are the names of the fallen angels, the wandering angels that wandered down to Earth, and yeah, they're the watchers, the angels that hang around the Earth to watch what's going on.
So okay, so I'm a very simple guy, right? I try to take in as much as I can. So where is all that though? So I know we were talking about, I think it was called a fermentation layer.
Firmament.
So firmament, that was it. Fermentation. That's beer.
Making beer, yeah.
You've got this layer. So everything is supposed to be inside that, or what? Where does that come from, though? And what's on the outside? And how did all that get created? If it's there, where did it come from?
My personal belief, obviously, it's all speculation because not a lot of us have been up there or anything. But the way I see it is that there is a barrier, not necessarily the firmament itself, but there's a barrier possibly separating the various heavens that are described in the Bible. Because the first heaven is the sky, and then there's another heaven above that, and there's another heaven above that. I think there may be even 7. I don't know, but the going into the weird stuff now. But the demons that are here are locked into the first heaven. They can't go above the first heaven, and we seem to be locked into that first heaven because we've shot up rockets. People have shot up rockets with cameras on them. And when you get to about 75 miles up, well, you can go onto YouTube and find this video where this rocket goes up and it hits something and then stops literally and then starts falling down again. It literally, if it was something hard and fast that it hits, it would have destroyed itself, because before it stopped, it was going at quite a rate. So it just suddenly stopped and started coming down again.
So couldn't that have been maybe just its limitations from the gravitational pull or whatever that is that we don't know what is keeping us on the ground, and it just couldn't go any further due to its lack of power? And
not really. I mean, it was still powered at that point. And the theory of gravity is that it drops off in an inverse square to the distance away from the center of gravity. So if anything, the further up it gets, the less effect gravity has on it. So according to their theory anyway. But literally this rocket was powering up there, and then all of a sudden, thunk,
just twacked and stopped.
And stopped, because it's spinning all the way up. It's almost hard to watch because it's spinning so much. And all of a sudden it hits, stops spinning, and then falls. Wow. And when you see the trajectory of all rockets that go up, seems they all curve under that 75-mile limit. So I don't think that's the actual firmament personally. I think there's another full firmament where the sun and the moon, or not full firmament, there's a space above this barrier where the sun and the moon move around, and then you get the firmament where all the stars are embedded. Now, interestingly, there was a guy called Admiral Byrd who went down to Antarctica.
You guys save that. You guys save it for the break. We got to take a quick commercial. Okay. We'll be right back. We're going to be talking about Admiral Byrd because I know about this one. See, I know a little bit of something about something. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Coriolis effect, and we're going to talk. Did I even say that right? I don't know if I said it right. Doesn't matter. We're going to talk about that. We'll be right back. Thanks.
These ones or these ones?
Saw an episode of Intervention. And I know I'm fine.
Illinois, Mr. Robert Bobby McNeely. He is going to join us tonight.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Elaine Zhang, and today I am here with Eli Seal, documentary filmmaker.
I need more. Welcome to The Only Way is Linda. Today I have a really special guest here.
Welcome back, you guys. Vaughn Joseph here. Thanks for sticking with us. So we're back with Allegedly Dave. We're talking about flat Earth. We're talking about all the stuff that you thought you knew and why it's not what you think it was. So we were talking about Admiral Byrd. You started to talk about before you were so rudely interrupted and taken to the break by the sponsors, Dirty Lemon. You guys, I hope you go check those guys out. Sorry, dirtylemon.com. Amazing detox stuff. So, fire.
Admiral Byrd, yes. He led about 4 expeditions down to Antarctica.
Right.
the last one, I believe it was Operation Deep Freeze or High Jump, I can't remember which one. He went down with a huge military group with hundreds of planes and thousands of personnel. I think it was supposed to last for several months, but he came back after a couple of weeks with half the planes missing. So, funnily enough, just after he came back, I think it was 1950. My memory's gone. But yeah, the year after he came back, if you look in the Encyclopedia Americana, under Antarctica, it tells you there's a dome at 13,000 feet in the encyclopedia. So it kind of suggests that they were flying these planes down in Antarctica and kept hitting something that was up at 13,000 feet.
Kind of like the time travelers. I don't know if you ever saw that film where they couldn't get through and it was just a barrier.
Yeah, but when Admiral Byrd came back from Antarctica from the last time, immediately after, the US and Russia started firing nuclear missiles straight up. And when you look at the footage, you can see it's called Operation Fishbowl, funny enough, Project Dominic. You can find the footage on YouTube.
Right.
You'll see that the explosions, are exploding against something. The ring of the blast goes outwards in a ring, not as a fireball.
Right.
So it's exploding against something.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that was in 1962. It says.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Project Dominic and Operation Fishbowl, Fishbowl, so fairly obvious, but Dominic is actually means of the Lord. Fishbowl of the Lord.
Right.
So, somebody knows something.
With regards to Antarctica, because we say on the globe that it's at the bottom of the globe, but if the Earth is flat, right, and the Earth isn't it's not spherical, it's flat, would that make Antarctica be on the outside then? It kind of like some kind of barrier or barricade then on the outside?
It's like an ice ring around. And when you go down there, the first thing you encounter is a 200-foot wall of ice.
Right.
That's what's keeping the oceans in. And then if you manage to get on top of that ice, you've got like 300 miles of ice plain, and then 2-mile-high mountains. And then beyond that, it seems there's more continents that we've not heard about.
So there's stuff out there that we're being kept in the dark about,
Sure.
so to speak.
Admiral Byrd actually said that there was a continent the size of the continental US, the other side of Little America, which was the base they had. So they had the Little America base, and then there was what they called the South Pole. And Admiral Byrd said beyond the South Pole, on the other side of Little America, is this massive continent which is uninhabited, and it's free of ice, got warm water lakes and everything.
So does the Earth have an edge then, do you think, beyond that?
Well, there's a book called Worlds Beyond the Poles, and it's said to have been written after Admiral Byrd's trip, and it suggests that they couldn't find the extent of this landmass.
Right.
They would fly out in 2,000 odd mile distances, lay a base, then come back and then fly on from and see. And they did it a few times, and they didn't find the end to it, which is why a lot of people subscribe to the endless or infinite plane theory, that we're just one puddle in an infinite plane of ice. I don't really subscribe to that. There's a map that surfaced. It's a 100-year-old map. I think it appeared in Hawaii or something, and it shows the kind of flat Earth map in the middle, and then other continents around, continents we're not familiar with, sort of spread out around. And interestingly enough, that the other side of where Admiral Byrd was saying, there is a continent about the size of the continental US.
Really?
So maybe there's more knowledge out there than we think.
Wow. So I guess one of my big questions has been throughout all this, reading and all that stuff, is why? Why has all this been kept a secret, or we've been deceived? What is to be gained by all that from, like I say, NASA's, showing us all these fake images and so on and so forth, the videos that we see, the moon landing, all that stuff, fake. So what is to be gained by all that, and how are they somehow managing to keep this together on a global scale? Like when you had Russia's flying Sputnik and all that other stuff, how is everybody on the same page with keeping this hoax alive?
Because it's a lot bigger than we realize. You've got to sort of factor the flat Earth in with the Big Bang theory and the theory of evolution. You put all those together, and what you've got is this idea that we are tiny little microbes crawling around on a speck of dust in an infinite universe. Yeah, we're not even fully evolved. Yeah, the process of evolution is always ongoing. So we're kind of imperfect, useless creatures in this infinite void of, that's not very important. Our lives are accidental. There's nothing important about us whatsoever. We're insignificant. That's the idea that they've inculcated into us with these three theories. But when you realize that this place is the only place there is, this, in my mind, this is a bubble of 3D time and space. Yeah? 3D space and time, sorry. This bubble of 3D space and time. Beyond it is a realm without space and time that we can't even imagine. Yeah, that's where the creator lives, and that's what they've been hiding, the fact that this is a created place. We are the chief of the creations here, and we've got instructions on how to live here, from the one who created all this, who apparently back in the old days used to speak to us. So that's what they've been hiding, that there is a creator and there is a purpose to our lives.
Wow. That is amazing stuff. I wish we had more time, because this could go on for ages, because it's very interesting information. I appreciate you coming out and visiting with us today. You have a book that you've written. What's the book called, and where can people find the book?
Well, it's not really on this topic, but it's about health. It's the Human Body Owner's Workshop Manual, and you can get it on lulu.com, or you can also get it at Amazon, but I wouldn't get it at Amazon, evil people. But yeah, it's available at lulu.com. But yeah, it's about how to operate your body, heal it, and keep it working.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So get over to lulu.com.
Lulu.com.
And check out the book. Check out Dave's stuff. And we appreciate you again for coming out. And thanks for tuning in, you guys. We'll see you guys next time. And hopefully we'll have you back again soon when I'll get some solid proof on reptilian beings and all kinds of crazy stuff like that's going on, man.
We hardly scratched the surface.
Yeah, I know, we didn't, did we? We could do a whole nother series of shows. Maybe we'll get you back out soon. So do you have a website or anything like that where people can find you if they have questions about your stuff?
Yeah, it's a bit dodgy at the moment, but because it went down, but it's allegedlydave.com. And my YouTube channel is at dmurphy25.
Okay, cool. Brilliant. So that's where to find them, guys. You know where to find us, and we'll find you next time on Vaughn Joseph Show. Thanks.